Secretary, Ministry of ICT, Mr. Joseph Musheru, the Governor of Bungoma, Mr. Kenneth Lusaka, who is also the chair of the ICT Committee at the Governor's Council, the Principal Secretary, ICT and Innovation, Mr. Victor Chalo, the Principal Secretary, Broadcasting and Telecommunication, Mr. Sami Itemere, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Youth and ICT, Rwanda, Ms. Rosemary Mbabazi, our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Connected Summit 2016. Over the past few years, we have had all these Connected Summits held in various titles and topics and logos, but the main issue here has always been trying to bridge the divide and the gaps between citizens, industry, and government. And so far, we've been able to do a lot of this. This year's Connected Summit, the theme is Bridging the Service Gap. Ladies and gentlemen, none of this would be possible if you were not all here, so thank you for coming. At this point, I would like to invite Mr. Robert Mugo, who is the acting CEO of ICT Authority, to welcome and start the opening panel. Thank you.
The government is harnessing ICT primarily to bring service solutions to the Mwananchi, bearing in mind that technology often fails when it stops addressing the problems that face people. In line with this, the ICT Authority aims to build better lives for Kenyans through economic transformation, with ICT playing a central role. Connected Summit aims at establishing a platform for collaboration, capacity building, and knowledge sharing between government and the ICT sector, with a view of linking and hastening implementation of ICT projects to world-class standards. We hope that the delegates at Connected Summit 2016 will take full advantage of the unique opportunity to examine lessons learned, as well as explore and identify gaps in the ICT sector that need to be addressed in order to achieve ubiquitous access to public services for all. So without much further ado, I will call Engineer Victor Chalo to come and make his remarks.
When we look back at Connected Kenya over the years and going forward, it's a forum where we wanted to be able to connect with each other, network, and discuss things and look back and forth. Where are we coming from and where are we going? And I'm glad this has happened over the years. I think the last 2 years we've looked at the master plan and you try to see what do we need to do, what do we need to achieve. I want to summarize this in a very simple manner from my own perspective, and then do one or two asks from the industry and report back on one or two asks that we got from the industry in the last 1 or 2 years. I think one of the things that we've looked at is how does the government connect with its stakeholders and newer stakeholders. And the idea was, how do we ensure the networking opens up some leads which can be exploited either for business growth or for ensuring that the opportunities are there for everybody in a very transparent manner. And I think over the years, this has improved with time, and we've seen more and more players engaging with government. My final point is that even as we move forward, I think we still keep the motto of ensuring you make as many contacts as possible while you're here, you network as much as possible, and even if you sleep at around 3 in the morning, we still meet here at 8. Actually, if you sleep before 3, then you've missed the whole essence of Connected meeting here. So, and if you don't come at 8, again, you've missed the whole essence. So let's continue working hard and playing hard. And it's now my pleasure to invite my colleague, P.S. Itemere, to give us his address and to invite our Cabinet Secretary. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to join you here as we connect, as my colleague, Engineer Victor, P.S. Victor has said, an opportunity to celebrate innovation, an opportunity to see how far we are in as far as when we are looking at Kenya, our ICT master plan, the things that we have been able to deliver and the things that we are yet to deliver. Obviously, there have been challenges along the way, and out of these 3 days, we are looking forward to seeing you as the key stakeholders within Kenya coming up with, hopefully, policies that can help drive the ICT agenda in the days ahead. So with those very few remarks, I want to take this opportunity to welcome the Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Information, Communications and Technology, Mr. Joe Musheru, to make his keynote address. Mr. Musheru.
Thank you. Morning, everybody. It is my desire that your 3-day stay here will have a bearing on this industry as we move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya has in recent years made massive strides in the area of information, communication, and technology. Today, I can confidently say that we stand shoulder to shoulder with the developed markets around the globe in the areas of ICT. I can confidently predict that in a few years to come, it is very possible that we will have surpassed a number of these developed markets in terms of how integrated our economic sectors will be with technology. Just wait and hear what NTSA is going to be talking about. Other than Alcoblo, there's actually a lot of technology that they've actually introduced and that you will be hearing about. In the recent past, the government has made some moves that are geared at delivering a one-stop shop service center for Kenyan citizens. This includes the launch of e-government programs to successfully promote services such as iTax, eCitizen, which are using ICT to bring services to the doorsteps of every ordinary Kenyan. With the increased internet penetration in the country, more Kenyans can now access these e-government services conveniently from their homes by use of simple mobile handsets. My ministry will ensure that stakeholder consultations will take place on a regular basis. I made a similar promise 5 days ago during the ministry's launch of the ICT sector policy review guidelines. I wish to encourage all participants and stakeholders of the Connected Summit 2016 to continually innovate and utilize technology to effectively deal with the emerging challenges of inadequate access to necessary services by Kenyans. And with those few remarks, I desire to conclude by wishing you all a comfortable stay in this part of Kenya and also fruitful deliberations during this Connected 2016. Asanteni.
Given that we have this panel in front of us, I will ask that we field a few questions, a maximum of 4, for this particular panel, the CS and the PSs, because you may not have all of them on the stage at the same time. So I'd ask that we take some mics through the crowd. Remember, Connected is very interactive, so that we take any questions you may have before we go to the next part of the program. Any questions from the audience for our panel?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, my name is Michael Onyango from the great county of Kisumu. I look after communication, information, and technology. I'm the county minister there. My question is to the CS and to his team. We as counties, we want to be on board, and we want to see you really working directly with us. So we're great, and I'm happy about the presidential digital program which you've mentioned. However, we are ready and we want to engage with you in devolving a lot of the things that you're doing. Could you please work with us and possibly outline where we can kick off and immediately work together with yourselves? Victor, congratulations. I've not seen you since you're appointed. And of course to the other team, and Bwana CS, we're very happy to have you on board. Rwanda's smart technology and what you're doing there, would also like to hear what you're doing and what it is we can learn from you and implement that in our counties. Thank you.
Delano Longwe, Simbanet, part of the Wananchi Group. Honorable Cabinet Secretary, the Principal Secretaries, and our visiting Principal Secretary from Rwanda, and representatives, ministers, all protocols observed. The question I have is, as we approach 2017, which is a year for general elections, how far will we have progressed in terms of the rollout of rural broadband? And how is it that private sector players like us can play a role bringing in our agility to make this a reality for Kenyans at large? So addressing the challenge that the CS has put through to us in terms of technology 4G or LTE are available, very easy to roll out from a private sector perspective where I sit. How do we engage so that we can unleash all this into a reality in a hurry?
Thank you very much. Delano?
Morning again. So I'll give you some brief responses to the questions, and the PSs can add. They have even more details. So the first one is in terms of working with the counties. We have multiple areas where we need to work as government to ensure that we have ICTs across the whole country. So with the national fiber optic cable, that's one area we are cooperating with the counties to ensure we have where lives and right of way to get the cables into each of the counties connected. We also have the last mile connectivity that is required so as to be able to reach all the different buildings within the counties. That again is an area where we can cooperate. We're looking at use of products such as, or systems such as IFMIS, e-procurement, revenue collection. Those again are areas where we want to be able to work very, very closely. In fact, with the PDTPs or the interns who have just graduated, we're planning to provide some of those to work with you in the counties so as to make it easier to use a lot of the government services. As regards working with private sector, Delano, we have, for instance, for 4G and other services, the CA has been working on licensing different players in different areas, whether it's even broadcasting. For instance, due to the digital migration, we've moved from about 65 radio stations. Now we have got over 108. We've moved from 5, I think, TV stations. Now we've got over 60 TV stations. So we're licensing, and in many of the things that we want to do, we want to work very closely with the private sector, because we believe that competition is going to be the key area. We're working towards ensuring that the environment is, we're going to have a level playing field. There's been a lot of conversation in terms of what we do with mobile money, interoperability, areas of dominance. Those are areas that we're handling and looking at quite closely. But they then mean that private sector gets the opportunity to be able to have an environment where they can compete and invest. And so you'll be hearing more about the plans in the various caucuses that have been set up, where you will actually get the opportunities for investment. But in terms of government policy, where possible, we want to make sure it is done through private sector.
For us to bridge the service gap, we have to improve and increase the digital literacy of this country. The pilot phase will be tested in about 150 schools in the 47 counties, and 9 of these are actually special schools. So ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to introduce for the very first time to us the very popular project by the government of Kenya. I would like to welcome the CEO and the Cabinet
Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, one of the first duties I had was to oversee this very important project for this country. Every time I talk about this project, I become emotional. And it gives me great pleasure to present to you these devices. This particular device is what we call the Learner's Digital Device, the LDD. For lower primary, the best format for devices to use is this particular format because it's very interactive. At the stage of lower primary, we are talking about learning to use. Learning to use the device. When the children go to upper primary, they will be using to learn. Using the device to learn. So that's a very big differentiator between learning to use and using to learn. So it gives me great pleasure, Bwana CS, to hand over to you for the very first time the Learner Digital Device.